Can you guys hear me? Okay, great. Welcome everyone to Behind the Crime Door. I am thrilled that you all came over from Graz's live. Anyway, sorry, I'm trying to figure out StreamYard, and I do apologize. It's not really easy to figure out unless you're actually using it. So I'm just back here trying to figure out why I have the thumbnail on my screen because I really didn't want it to stay up there. But anyway, I'm just going to go ahead and get started. I just want to welcome everyone. I'm so excited to have you all here. Oh my gosh, I'm so excited to see that the captain came to my live. That's just amazing. Um, I'm thrilled to see Graz is here. I've got True Crime Maria, and if you guys have not been over to her channel, please make sure that you stop over to her channel. Her videos are amazing. Dead City Rats is here. Shane Considine, welcome. Thank you so much for joining. Lynn, Annie, I'm so glad that you're here to help out in the chat. You're awesome. Everybody that is modding for me, thank you so much. So tonight, what I wanted to talk to everybody about, and I thought that we could discuss, was the videos and the recent interviews that Doug Carter has done in the last few days before the anniversary. I think there's been some really telling information that has been brought out in these interviews. And I've been looking over social media a lot in the last few days. I think we all probably have. My Reddit sub has had some real interesting posts there, lots of comments. We talked a little bit about all that last night in my live, but people are just all over the place with this. I mean, there's some of us that are taking what was said by Doug Carter and seeing it as a true positive. And there's others that just absolutely refuse to believe that law enforcement is onto anything in this case. And I am, for one, believing that that is not the case. I think that there's a lot that's happened and that's been said that we can pretty much figure out that they are definitely on to Bridge Guy. Hey, Sammy, good to have you back. Thank you so much for coming back. AJ, I'm so glad you're out there keeping everything in order for me. Thank you so much. Sling and Lead, it's good to see you back. Tamara, thank you so much for joining tonight. Tech Death, I just absolutely love the music that you sent me. I certainly will be using it. You're amazing. What a musician. So you will be hearing his music on my channel here very, very soon. Welcome, Lynn. Welcome, Shane. Really good to see all of you. So one of the things that I did want to say that I went back and did, and this is one of the things that I'm pretty much known for, is I do a lot of listening to videos and then transcribing what was said. And one of the things that I did, everybody wanted their hands on that affidavit that was shown on the HLN special on Saturday night. And what I did is I just went back and copied off the screen what I could see. And I just thought I would let you guys know what that is today. And so what it starts out is, you are authorized and ordered in the name of the state of Indiana with the necessary and proper assistance to enter into redacted property located at redacted evidence related to the murders of LG and AW, which we know to be Liberty German and Abigail Williams, and diligently search for the following items: redacted, described as a two-story white single-family dwelling, including outbuildings. Now, I know that there's been a lot of talk about where this location is. Someone messaged me on Reddit and said that it was definitely Ron Logan's property. I don't believe that, because for 1 minute, because they didn't serve a search warrant on Ron Logan's property until in March. And I believe this search warrant was before then. So that's my take on that. I could very well be wrong, but that's how I'm seeing this. So I think that it's probably one of two locations. It's either Bicycle Road, excuse me, or it's the Klein residence. So those are my thoughts. And whatever this search warrant was drawn up for, whatever residence, my take on what they were talking about was, this is how they found out that the video was 43 seconds long. And I'm still not sure that I get why they were saying that or how they kind of figured that out. But the clip that we got of that 43-second video that Libby took is only 1.5 seconds long. So, yeah, it seems like, it's not that much information, I guess. But for everyone out there that was saying that the video was 6 minutes long or 10 minutes long or whatever, I think that we can pretty much say that that's been debunked, and that that's not going, that's not true at all. I always try to go with what law enforcement has told us. They also said that guys down the hill came at the very end of that 43-second video. And so that kind of falls into play where Tobe told us last year in 2021 that there were no other words spoken on this video. So I think that that's pretty telling for a lot of the questions that we have out there. Doug Carter talks about the totality of evil, that he has never seen anything like the totality of evil in this case in his entire career as a law enforcement officer. And I think that that is also something that is extremely telling about this case and what he saw that day in the woods when he went to the crime scene. We keep hearing how brutal this crime was. And I know, like I said, there's so much misinformation and information out there that's been presented as fact. We've heard that the crime scene was not very bloody. It didn't really look like anything had really truly happened to them. I don't believe that either, because when we're talking about horrific crime scene, brutal, I just don't, those things don't jive with the other information. He also said that he thinks that they are closer each and every day. One of the things that on the interview that I watched with him, he was absolutely adamant that he was not going to talk about the evidence. And he kept telling the reporter, I'm not going to go there. You can talk to me about anything else, but don't ask me questions about the evidence. They don't feel comfortable revealing any of that right now. And I think it's because, as he said to this reporter, he's watching. He's watching everything that they say and do. And I've always felt like Bridge Guy's watching us. I think that Bridge Guy follows social media so much more closer than we even could imagine. I agree with you, Graz. I don't think that there's more than one video either. I know that we got information from the Garrett Kurtz interview in jail that there's supposedly some sort of a snuff film out there. I don't believe that. I don't. I mean, sure. Is it possible? Of course it is. It is possible, but I just don't think there is. I don't think there's any more out there. Now, we may come to find out that that's absolutely not true, and he may have taken video, because I guess my feeling on that is a twofold. We can talk about that if you guys want to, but the pinging of a cell phone, unless he brought a regular DSL camera with him in his, jacket or whatever, what is he going to be using to take photographs with? Well, the most obvious thing would be a cell phone. Well, if he has a cell phone, it's going to ping. And we know that they did a net of cell phones within a 5-mile radius. That has come out. They did do that. They had subpoenaed that. And Robert Ives talked about it. And if they did that in a 5-mile radius and they know and have interviewed everyone that they caught in that, then he would have been one of them if he had a cell phone down there at the crime scene. Doug Carter told us that he thinks they are closer each and every day. And he was asked why the change in the photo or the sketch. Why the change in the sketch? Why did we have one sketch for 2 years and then all of a sudden you get this completely new sketch that looks completely different, like a different person? And he basically answered it this way: investigations evolve. And I don't think the public understands what that means. I really don't. As they're investigating, they're gathering intel, they're gathering information, they're interviewing people, they're collecting evidence, they're doing all these things, and it may point them in one direction, and then they may get another piece of evidence or an interview or talk to someone that sends them completely in another direction in the investigation. And so as the investigation's evolving and they're gathering more information, and it starts to put a puzzle or a pie, however you want to look at it, a picture together. And I think that's what happened. They had 50,000 tips in this case. And that's such a large amount of things that need to be vetted, that needs to have eyes looked at, people to talk to. I can't even imagine the daunting task of all of that. And I've thought about that a lot. I've had numerous discussions with people about, they only have a handful right now of investigators on this case. And when you have thousands of tips coming in, hundreds of tips coming in, whatever it may be, that takes a long time to get through, which is another reason why this case has taken 5 years. And I know that they just get a really bad rap, and it really sometimes bothers me because I've been there frustrated. Doug Carter mentioned in his interviews over the weekend, that they're tired. They are on a task that the investigators, they're the same ones that have been on it since day one. They want the case solved. They spend tons and tons of hours and time on this. You've got Jay Harper, Dave Vito, Jerry Holman. These guys are invested. And I just hate it, I guess, when everybody online is just berating the law enforcement and calling them, you know, backwoods law enforcement. They don't know what they're doing. And I do agree that, they made mistakes. They're human. They don't have the investigatory skills of larger police departments. They have that against them. Most of these gentlemen have never, well, I would probably say all of these gentlemen have never ever seen a crime like this, and will never see another crime like this in their careers. But Doug Carter said it's important that we do not release what we know. And there's so many reasons for that, but the number one reason I think is why he's saying that is because they don't want to tip Bridge Guy off to what they have already on him and what they know. Because if they do that, what happens in that situation? They give him a heads up. Hey, this is what we've got on you, and it can really destroy their case. So, I thought that what I heard from him and his demeanor and everything over the weekend was a complete different Doug Carter that we have seen over the last 4.5 years. He was had a lot more smiles on his face. He seemed to be so much more confident in his speaking. He told Bridge Guy, sleep well. I think he knows they're coming. I mean, he knows that the investigators are coming for him. And Doug Carter said, I'm not an investigator in this case, but he speaks with them, I'm assuming daily, if not every other day. He is in close contact with them, and he knows what's happening within this investigation at any given moment. He told the interview person from News Nation that he goes to sleep at night thinking about Abby and Libby, and he wakes up in the morning thinking about Abby and Libby, and he thinks that he'll probably do that for the rest of his days. And I think that this case has affected so many of us in so many different ways, but I can understand why he feels that way. I totally can understand that. He also talked about social media, and the question was put to him on whether or not he thought social media was helpful. And oops, sorry about that. He stammered a little bit, and because I think he wanted to say one thing, but he was trying to get his thoughts together. And he said that he thinks that the public have been wonderful, bringing all the tips to him. He still believes absolutely that side-by-sides are a bad thing. They do not help this case. He said they have asked over and over and over that people don't do this. But I can see why, because just with what I know and what I've watched over this case over 5 years, is that we have people out there that are literally going online and picking someone out that they think looks like the photograph and building their narrative around that, because they're absolutely positive that this is Bridge Guy. And they don't have any evidence that he was in Delphi. They don't have any evidence that he was at the crime scene. They have no evidence at all that he even knew the girls. It's just in their minds, they think he looks like Bridge Guy. And we could all talk about the number of people that's been over 5 years. And I think that's what he was talking about, was that kind of thing. But he did say, that the public, going out and trying to do a little bit of their investigations or whatever, he thinks that that can create problems. And I agree with him on that. But when he was asked on what the public should still be doing, Doug Carter said they need to keep doing what they're doing. So again, in Doug Carter's speak, he basically is telling us to, don't stop. Don't stop doing what we're doing by dissecting this case and looking at it and sending in tips, because he firmly believes that that's how this is going to get solved. He also brought up the fact that law enforcement should not speak about what they think ever. They always should speak about what they know. And I think the public needs to listen to that and abide by it as well. We need to do a lot less speaking about what we think and a lot more speaking about what we know. Now, that doesn't mean that you can't speculate. I'm not here to tell you to stop speculating at all. That's not going to happen. We're all human beings and people are going to speculate. But what I'm saying is that we need to do it in a way that is truthful, honest, and with integrity. And we shouldn't get into such a box or a narrow mindset and vision of, if we think this one person might be Bridge Guy, that is all we push. That's all we will talk about. We won't listen to any other one's opinion or thoughts on this case, because that is where I think the problems can come from. I think that Anthony Shots is huge. I think that when they announced that in December, that was strategic. Doug Carter said in his interview that this is a strategic investigation. And being the wife of someone who served 35 years in our military, I can tell you that strategic means that they are acting on a plan. They have a plan of action, and every single thing they do has been well thought out. I believe that the behavioral analysis people are talking to them about what they are presenting to us and present to the public. And I think that is what's happening here. It's not that they don't know anything. It's the fact that they have a plan of action and they're sticking to it, and they're not letting anything sway them from doing that. I firmly believe, because they want this case solved, that if they thought for 1 second releasing more information, or the information that we, the public, think they should be releasing, would help this case, I think they would do it in a heartbeat. I mean, honestly, these are 2 little girls that were brutally murdered out in the woods. Do you think for 1 second that law enforcement is going to sit back and say, we don't care. We're not going to release this stuff because we really don't care if this case is solved yet. I just don't see that. I just don't. I can't wrap my head around that one. I just want to take a moment and look at the chat real quick. I want to say hello to Ann Moore. Welcome, Laura Dune. Ivy Rose, it's so good to see you here in my channel. Thank you so much for coming. Shane Corsage, Shane Considine, you guys, Julie Poppy, Country Girl, Tamara, thank you so much for joining the live stream tonight. But he definitely believes that Bridge Guy is watching, and I do too. And he said that they will meet him soon. And I thought that was extremely telling. He looked right at the screen with a big smile on his face and said, we're going to meet you soon. And it's like I did in one of my videos last week. I think Bridge Guy should be scared. I think he should be nervous because I think they're on to him. And I definitely believe there's a lot more to the Anthony Schott situation that any of us can imagine. I don't think that we can discount that. There's a reason that they have us looking for people who have had contact with that profile. There is something about that situation that they need more information on. So I'm thinking that that's a really big deal. Doug Carter also brought up that this is the last year of the term for Tobe as sheriff, and Tobe wants this case solved before he leaves office. And I can understand that, and I can understand why. And just hearing that made me think, wow, I think this year could be the year that we see this happen. And when he spoke about needing anywhere from, I heard two different things. He gave an 80 to 100 additional law enforcement personnel, or 60 to 80. I heard both numbers from him in two different interviews. And everybody's like, why would he possibly need that many law enforcement personnel? Well, they have to go back over every single piece of evidence to build their, it's called a murder book in law enforcement. And once they have the case and they know who committed the crime, they have to put together every single piece of evidence that they're going to present in a court of law against this person, that they are going to try to get admitted into the court, because that is another ball of wax that has to happen. But it's the murder book that they present to the district attorney's office or the prosecutor, and they hand it over to them, and then they in themselves have to sit down and go over everything, and then they decide what charges will be brought, what what evidence they can possibly get admitted, what evidence they may not. Those are all things that have to happen. And so there's a lot of things that have to fall into place. And I don't think all of those things are there yet. I think they're working that direction. They're following that direction. We were talking, and Graz did his show, and I missed the first part of it. I'm going to have to go back and watch it on live or on replay. But I'm so glad that he chose to debunk some of this leaker stuff, because I've been worried about it for a long, long time. I think it's quite possible that Leaker, the original stuff that came out from Leaker, could have very well been real. That person very well could be the leaker that wanted to get information out to us. But the more and more I think about it, I just feel that it's I don't want to say trolls, but I do want to say people that have agendas that are out there putting out their narrative the way they want people to see things. And I think that there's a lot out there, as Graz has brought up, that kind of points to that. So Ivy Rose, I agree with you. It drives me crazy too. I think on any given day, the narrative around Delphi changes, and we all have moments where we're just like, Lord, what more could happen around this case? You talk about peeling back an onion. This case has more layers to it, and more segues, and it's just crazy. And that's one of the things too that Doug Carter talked about in his interview, because he said, I can't wait for the day, and he goes, and I know it's coming, that we will be able to tell you everything that happened. And one of the questions that the interviewer wanted to ask him was about the crime scene, and Doug Carter stopped him, and he said, I'm not going to talk about that. And he said, there will be a day when we have to talk about that. He said, and it's not going to be a pleasant day. And again, that leads me to believe that what happened in that woods and in that area of that crime scene that day is absolutely horrific. And it's going to be hard for us to hear about it. So I'm not looking forward to that day. But I guarantee you that if this case is gone to trial and goes to court, I'm going to be right there, supporting the family. I want to support them in every way that we possibly can. My heart breaks for them every single day. I think we need to keep our resolve. I think we need to keep our resolve in this case. There's days when it's easier to do. There's days when it's really hard to do. And I think it's because we're constantly being inundated with negativity around this case. All of us are. And sometimes it just takes over. I know as a content creator from Reddit, the Reddit side, where I have my sub over there are times when I needed to just step back and take a day or two to breathe, because some of the negativity just gets to you. It's emotional to me. And it angers you. So, you can only take so much, but I'm never going to stop fighting for the girls and trying to keep their story out there. I do believe that how we choose to tell their story matters. I think there's a right way to tell it and a wrong way, and I think sticking to the facts is the right way. I know that I may not end up with a lot of subscribers on my channel because of that, but that's not why I'm here. I'm not here for subscribers. I'm not here for monetization of my channel. I'm here because I want to make a difference. I want to help this case, and trying to keep things focused and on a narrow path of truth is important. And so I've learned a lot from Real Chill Graz. I'm going to keep bringing him up because he's my mentor. That's how I feel about him. I was lucky enough to end up falling into his channel, and just became a member of the family over there. And it was enough for me to see, that I can do this too. I mean, I've been doing it on Reddit. There's nothing wrong with coming over here to YouTube and trying to live the story over here. And the more I would watch YouTube and the more I would see the drama and the stuff that was happening around the case, it just made me decide that I needed to jump off into the deep end. So it's kind of what I've done. And Annie, you are so wonderful because you guys are family to me. Grizz, Dead City Rats, all of you, Tech Death, you guys are, and AJ, all of you, you guys are wonderful, good people. And that's the kind of people we need around this case, that are championing for justice for the girls. Because I think that is what this is all about. And what do you guys think? I was trying to keep up a little bit with the chat while I was doing all my talking, but I was just curious as to how you guys are truly feeling about the case. Are you feeling positive? Do you really think that they're onto something? Do you think that the Anthony Schatz thing is going to really lead them to Bridge Guy? How do you feel about the photos or the sketches? Not the photos, because they're not photos. Hey, Chihuahua. How are you? Good to see you again tonight. Hi, Bettina. Thank you for joining. Yeah, Tamara, I agree. I think that we all want him to be held accountable. I so want that man in court to have to face justice for the awful evil that he inflicted on those two children that day, I just I can't tell you how much I want that for them. Hi, Ann Moore. I agree. It has brought a lot of tips, and tips are only the good things. Thank you, Kim K. Welcome. I do try to be kind to everyone. We live in a world today where kindness is kind of on the back burner. And I think that, especially when we're talking about something such as the death of two little girls, we really need to remember what's going on when we're talking about those types of cases, and try to keep things kind and respectful. Hey, let's go Bengals. Welcome. Nice to see you here. Shane, how do you feel that way? Can you elaborate on that a little bit? I'd really like to know. I don't either, Annie, and it's frightening. Hey, Bruce, welcome. I'm so glad to see you. I wanted to thank you so much for your help last night on my first live when I couldn't get StreamYard to work at all. You were so wonderful and helpful, and I so appreciate that, Bruce. Thank you so much. I think it's interesting that, how do you guys feel about what Kagan said on the HNL special about him being the last person to speak to Libby before she was murdered? I'm real curious as to what people think about that statement. Hi, Oopsa Daisy, welcome, and thank you so much for coming. Oh, it's okay, Ivy Rose. I have typos as well. It's just what it is. We figure it out, don't we? Yeah, I go back and forth on that with Kagan about whether or not he fits Bridge Guy or doesn't fit Bridge Guy, or if Tony fits Bridge Guy, or whatever. And I'm not absolutely 100% positive to answer that either way, but I will tell you that I am 100% positive that in some way that profile and that whole situation is involved. And the one thing that leads me to believe that Kagan and Tony are involved in this is the fact that they refused to turn over, or he refused to turn over his iPhone 5C phone after the search warrant, and spent 2 days unloading and destroying evidence off of that phone when he was absolutely willing to turn over 6 other devices that had CSAM and CP all over them. He didn't care that they had that stuff. And so if he didn't care that they had that stuff, what possibly could have been on that phone that he didn't want them to see? I don't believe it was CSAM, and I don't believe it was CP. It was something else. What could have that been? Well, communication with someone. And I believe that. And that's where my heart is with that whole Anthony Schatz and the Klein situation. So I think, as Doug Carter said, when they're finally able to tell us, all of these things will fall into place and we will understand it so much better. And I agree, country girl. I do think that somebody communicated with them, whether knowingly or unknowingly. Their information, Libby's information, was shared to somebody, and that somebody was Bridge Guy. Well, let's go Bingles. They say that when you're in jail, you get to see the television. So I'm assuming that he watches the news. I don't know that he watches the news about Delphi because I don't believe that he's involved in Delphi. But I'm sure that he's able to see the news. And Grizz, you're right. They could have. Most definitely. Yep. Yep. I did notice that Anthony Greeno has posted a couple of things from jail. I'm not so sure that that's the best thing for him to be doing. I wish he would focus more on himself and getting better and figuring out his situation, but I understand. Dead City Rats, did you happen to see how he looked in that video? I thought he looked really bad compared to what he looked in his pictures prior to going to jail. It looked like he had hair that was missing from the center of his head. It looked like he didn't look well to me. That's kind of what I thought. Hi, let's go Bingos. Sorry that your Bengals didn't win. I was rooting for them. Shane Kersage, I agree with you. I would really like to know that information as well. Do they know when he contacted them? Who's Zach in Peru, Lynn? Who is Zach in Peru? And how do we know that? Because that's I mean, if that happened, that's very interesting. I would be interested to know who Zach is and how we know that happened. You know, Maria, I think that that's true. I think that that could very well be the situation because I just couldn't figure it out. Okay, it's Zach Vermillion. Then I know who it is. I know who she's talking about. She just didn't put the last name with it, so I didn't know who they were talking about. But now I do. Thank you, Maria, for helping me there. Yeah, and more. I was wondering the same thing because I really didn't think that he looked well at all. And you know, I've never been in jail, so I don't know what that's like. But I do know that people who have been say that it's a very unpleasant experience all the way around. So, and I'm certainly it is for someone that has all the charges that he has against him. Hey Grizz, who doesn't seem worried at all? Are you talking about Kagan? Because that's one of my things is that I believe that it's very possible that Kagan does know who Bridge Guy is, and he is scared out of his, you know, his bejeezies, whatever, however you want to put it. He is scared shitless. Let's just go there. He he is worried and doesn't know where to go with all of this. I think that there is a reason that his attorney has postponed every pretrial court date since he was arrested. Why don't they want him in court? Why doesn't he want to get this headed down the road and get his trial going? What is it? I mean, they didn't want to bargain, supposedly, with law enforcement. They came right out and said they weren't going to do any plea deals. So why are they putting the brakes on? What's going on here? Hey, Harvey. Welcome, welcome, welcome. Harvey Carroll's in the house. And you know, Harvey, I've heard that for 5 years, that there were nearly 70 people out there, but I don't see them. I don't know where that's coming from. I don't know how we know that. Law enforcement has never told us one thing about witnesses or how many people. I know that Kelsey said a lot of people were out there that day, but nobody saw anybody. And certainly didn't see 70 people. And so that kind of bothers me about all that. Yeah, I think it's normal sometimes, Ivy, especially if they're waiting for discovery and things like that. But we're going on, it'll soon be 2 years that he's been sitting in jail waiting for his very first trial. I mean, his pre-trial hearing, not his trial, but just his pre-trial hearing. They haven't even had that. So I just, something's not right. There's a reason for that, and I'm not sure what it is. And it's, to me, it just begs to go back to why wasn't he arrested in 2017? So there's that question that I'm sure will be answered for us as well. Hey, Scumbag Trav, way to go. Nice to see you here. You guys have all come over from Graz, and I so appreciate you all. Phony Pin, welcome. WV Woman. It is such a nice thing to notice when people show up into your lives. I've always felt that was always a nice thing for the host or content creators to do. It gets really hard when you've got thousands of people that are subscribed to your channel. RJ Primary, thank you so much for coming back. I'm so glad to have you here tonight. I so appreciate it. Bettina A, thank you so much for showing your support and being here. You know, Ivy Rose, that is something that I wrote a ton about on Reddit and got so much backlash for. Eyewitnesses are notoriously inaccurate, and my best friend's husband is a judge, and he told me that the worst possible evidence that you can have in a case is eyewitness testimony, because eyewitness testimony is notoriously inaccurate. And the reason being is, and they've done so many different what am I trying to say? Studies or whatever on this very thing. But you can have a person dress up, just normal person. You can have 5 or 6 people sitting in a room and have this person walk through the room, and 5 minutes, 10 minutes later, whatever, you can go walk back into that room and ask these people to write down a description to the T of what that person was wearing, how that person looked, and you're going to get 6 different descriptions of that person. So I think we have to, when we're looking at the sketches, I think that's one of the things that we have to think about when we're digesting all of this information, is that just because you have an eyewitness doesn't mean anything, really. It's like, yes, it's part of the puzzle, but you have to look at the rest of the evidence that goes along with it. Hi, Snail. Welcome. Hi, Anon. How are you? Good to see you here. I think when you look at Tony from 2017, he definitely fits the build. And Tony has severe diabetes. He's had numerous surgeries. And as far as I know, they've all been on one foot. And so if he's walking with a limp, it could be because of the surgeries on the foot. So those are things to consider. Again, I'm not accusing anyone here of being bridge guys. So please remember that when you're in my channel, that's not something that I do. So, but that's one of the things that I know that I've heard about Tony. A sketch is not a photograph. You're exactly right, Snail. Law enforcement has told us this over and over and over again, but we as human beings, we don't want to see it that way. When we see something visually, that's what we think Bridge Guy is going to look like. Seriously, people think he's going to look just like that sketch. And I don't believe that either. I believe he's going to be a combination of both sketches. And I believe that the facial features are going to be what stand out to everybody. It's going to be like, oh, hey, okay, he does resemble it. And yeah, I agree that there are so many people that can look like those sketches. It's uncanny, and those are innocent people too. So just remember that when we're thinking about that. You can ruin someone's life by calling them a double murderer. So, especially in this world on social media where people take it and run with it. So getting back to the whole interviews that we saw over the weekend with Doug Carter, my takeaway on all of that is that law enforcement has a strategic plan of action and they are following it. I believe that every single thing that they are doing has been planned out to the T, to the letter. I also believe because they have a jurisdictional task force, they have a lot of different agencies. One thing that we heard from Doug Carter this weekend is that the U.S. Marshal Service is involved in this. And I didn't know that. That was the first that I heard that the U.S. Marshals Service was involved in the case until Doug Carter told us that this weekend. And that to me is another huge thing because you have to know what the U.S. Marshal Service is for and what the U.S. Marshal Service does. And again, I don't think that a lot of people know that. And they assist law enforcement in many, many different ways by apprehending fugitives, by helping in investigations, tracking down evidence, going to pick up evidence, all of those things. But I thought that was really, really interesting to hear that they're helping out on this case. And the FBI as well, Tamara, you're right. The FBI is the tip line. I heard somebody say this a couple weeks ago on Reddit. The tip line does not go to Carroll County, ladies and gentlemen. The tip line goes to the FBI. It has for a long time. They have a software program that actually takes in these tips and and routes them to certain ways based on words that are said in the tips. That's how it works. And then the tips after that, they do get sent back to the investigators at some point. But yeah, the FBI is highly involved in this. And I believe that they're helping definitely with, the technicians and all of the laboratory work that's being done in this case, because I guarantee you they're still testing evidence. Mike Patty was at work in Lafayette at Caterpillar. Mike Patty is not responsible for these murders. So I don't know where that's coming from out there, but he was working at Caterpillar in Lafayette. And, I do agree with that, Chihuahua, because he said that, Doug Carter said that this weekend. Tip it in. We should all be tipping in if we have any idea or inkling, and give them the reason why we think so. Because it's up to law enforcement to decide if the tip is a good tip or not, or if it has any value. It's not up for us to do. It's not up for us to decide that. No, he's not tomorrow. Absolutely. He is not. He is not involved. And anybody who follows the case and looks at the facts knows that, because Mike was at work and he has a solid alibi. The FBI have looked at the family upside down and backwards. It is no one in the family that committed these murders. All the work that's done on the photos, Harvey, I'm going to just say, they asked us not to do that. Those photos were enhanced as best they could be. NASA worked on the bridge guy photos from Libby's phone. I don't think any of us are better at doing that than NASA would be, especially out in the general population. And I just don't agree with that. I'm sorry. I'm going to have to disagree with you on that one. Thanks, AJ, for putting that up. Phony Pen, thank you for joining. And I agree with you that is absolutely true, that people are capable of doing horrific things, and people are capable of doing them to their children. We've all seen cases like that. This is not that case. This is not that case. Hello, The Shadow Seeks Justice. Thanks to see you here. I'm so glad that you joined my live tonight. It's good to have you. So yeah, we're not going to sit and bicker and argue about the sketches and enhancing them. Not here in my channel. You guys can talk about it anywhere else you want, but we're not going to do that here, because we are about facts here, and law enforcement has told us that they don't want us messing with the sketches. And so I think that that's all we need to say on that subject. Hey, Lipsha, welcome. Nice to see you here. Welcome. Glad that you stopped by the live. Chihuahua, you're right. I have said that as well before. Most often, these killers look as normal as your neighbor next door, who you talk to across the bushes, who you sit next to at church on the pew, who you stand next to at Starbucks getting a coffee, could be the bagger at the grocery store that you talk to every week. These people tend to be people that look normal. They're not monster looking. They aren't vagrants that are walking around in the shadows of society. I go back to BTK a lot of times when I think about this, because he had an upstanding position in his church. He had a very good job. That man hid in plain sight for well over 35 years, and was murdering like crazy, and people had no idea. He was a family man. He had children. So yeah, it's scary. It's absolutely scary to think that we have people out there that can fool us that way. It's frightening. I agree with you, Ivy. I do think that people want to think they look like monsters because it's easier to accept and wrap our head around it. If we stop and think that it's just a regular old doctor or lawyer who has this horrific fetish that he keeps hidden from everyone around him. He's he's up late at night, whatever. He's on his computer. He's doing whatever. These pedophiles, especially. I said before, you would be surprised the number of men that are doing this at night or during the day at work, downloading this stuff. I mean, it's just, to me, it's just incredible. They're just people that, you would never in your wildest imagination think would be involved in something like this. Well, Harvey, if you believe that, then why don't you just go to law enforcement with what you've done and let them use it? If you firmly believe that, why don't you do that? That's my suggestion there, is instead of coming into other people's channels and disrespecting them and saying that they don't know what they're talking about, why don't you go to law enforcement and tell them what you've done and show them and see what they say to you, or send it into the tip line, because I'm sure that if it's something that's you've done that's very helpful, they would want to see it. Um, Oh, I agree with you. I think that the FBI worked um, on this photo for sure. They did, but I also know that NASA helps the FBI with photography um, in the forensic arena all the time. That is not something that's new, um, and they have the best capability. NASA does, so that's where it's at. Anon, I thought that was very telling as well. The very first question she asked is, he said he thought he was being harassed. And I just thought to myself, really? Everything that you had on those phones and tablets, and you're going to sit here and think that you're being harassed. Wow. Yeah, country gal, I agree with that statement as well, because law enforcement has actually told us that we will be surprised. Law enforcement has actually come out and said that to us, that we will be surprised. When I first heard law enforcement say that years ago, I thought to myself, this is going to be somebody in the community that is looked up to, and somebody that the community knows, and it's going to be a shock. And so I still go back to that sometimes, thinking, well, who is this person? Could it be a judge? Could it be a lawyer? Could it be a police officer? Who is this? Is it the guy that, runs the corner drugstore? Who is this person? And I think that when they say that we're going to be surprised, that's what that means to me anyway. That's my opinion I'm giving. It's not fact. Phony pin, I thought that was absolutely disgusting when he said that. I was like, he created a profile so that he could request child pornography because he was lonely. That was the most sickening thing that he could have possibly said. Obviously, he's not a very smart criminal, is he? I just thought that was just ironic. I mean, he had CSAM on his phone for children as young as 3 years of age. Stop and think about that. It's hard to, at least in my opinion. AJ, I am so glad that you're here to help Maria keep tabs on what's going on. And Dead City Rats, you've stuck right here with me. And Tech Death was still here. I don't know if he left or not because I didn't see, but you guys have been so good at sticking around and helping keep the chat a little civil. I don't like to have to call people out on things, but here in my channel, just so you guys get a feel, and if you've been watching my videos at all, you know who I am and why I feel the way I do. I want to keep things factual. I don't want to have a lot of misinformation thrown around there. And I definitely do not want to go against what law enforcement has asked us to do. So that's where I'm at with this. Yeah, and more, you're probably right. He could have. He decided that, he was on national. He knew he was going to be on national TV, so he might want to keep things downplayed a little while. Oh, you're so sweet, AJ. Thank you so much. Anon, me too. I think that was one of the things that Doug Carter, one of the last questions he was asked on the interview that I watched was, what is it that he is waiting for? And he said that moment where he can go to Mike and Becky and Anna and call them together and say, we did it. We got him. And I'm waiting for that day too. Thanks, Grizz. That I'm glad. I don't want to step on anyone's ideas around the case. Everybody's entitled to their own opinions and stuff. And what you do in your channel is your channel and your business. I just think that when we come to other people's channels, we need to keep open minds. We need to listen to what they have to say and respect their commentary, as well as the people coming into their chat to listen. I just think that that's important. And when you jump into somebody's channel and you start trying to shoot your narrative at everybody over and over again, that's disrespectful. And I don't like it. So I will call that out. But yeah, you know what? I think it will be a great day when we're all able to finally say, today is the day. Welcome, peace. Good to see you. Nice to have you here. I don't think we can lose faith. I often think about Kristen Smart's parents. If you're not familiar with Kristen Smart's case, she went missing in 1996 in San Luis Obispo, California. She was at Polytech University. It was her freshman year, and it was the last weekend before they moved out for the summer. And she went to a party. She got extremely either drunk or she had been drugged, which I think now they're thinking that she was actually drugged. And a couple of people walked her back to her dorm. And the last person that was left with her is the person that they believe killed her. And 25 years, 25 years. Police had him in their crosshairs the weekend it happened. The weekend she went missing, his name came up on the radar. They never stopped looking at him. And all of the investigators that looked at that case, it took them 25 years to bring him to trial. And he goes on trial in April. And I think about their parents and how long that is for them. And I hope that's not what we're looking at for Abby and Libby. I certainly hope it's not. But sometimes these cases can take a long, long time. And we all are ready. I mean, it's been, like I said, it's been 5 years. And I think, when you hear within the first 6 or 7 months of the case from Robert Ives tell us that the day that they were at the crime scene and they were all standing around looking at it, they all felt in their hearts that the case would be solved within just a couple of days. And there's something at that crime scene that made them all feel that way. And even Jay, the FBI agent that was on scene that day, said the same thing. He was like, we all felt that way, that this case was going to be solved within just days. So, with that being said, here we are 5 years later and it's not. So what do we have to do? We can't take away hope from the family for sure. Well, tomorrow, that's what Doug Carter told us. He told us in the interviews this past weekend, that he firmly believed it would be solved before he retires, which will be in about 2.5 years. And he also said that Tobe Lesenby wants it solved before he leaves office at the end of this year. So wouldn't that be wonderful if we saw resolution this year? And I think that when Paul Holes talked on the HLN special this past weekend, Lynn, he talked about DNA, and he talked about the fact that if this was a super bloody crime scene, as it sounds like it could have possibly been, it's very possible that the DNA that they have is a mixture of Bridge Guys and one of the girls. And if that's the case, it can be very, very difficult to get a DNA match because there may be so much more DNA of the girls and such a minute amount of his. So once you start looking at DNA and how DNA works and what they need to get good samples, you can understand why it can be difficult for them with DNA. And, in the world of DNA, I was here and alive before DNA was here, and I've watched it as it's grown and blossomed and became a great tool for law enforcement. I can tell you that it keeps evolving more and more, and there may become a time where they would be able to get a DNA match from this sample, but it's not there yet. If that is a mixture, as Paul Holes described. And if you guys aren't familiar with who Paul Holes is, he worked on the case for the Golden State Killer. So he is on his game. He knows what he's talking about. I think it's very important to not put ourselves in boxes. You have to make sure that you keep an open mind, and you really focus on the fact that even though it might be hard to admit or hard to wrap your head around, it still could be possible. And we have to look at every single thing. I agree with that. You can't fit your narrative into the story to try to make it work. That's not how investigations work. That's not how any of this works. You have to go where the evidence points you, no matter what. Hey, Foot Wedge, good to see you. Thank you for joining the live tonight. Who worked with children? I thought he worked at Chrysler. Shane, that is so important to remember. I was doing some looking on Facebook at a person just this past week, and I was going over pictures of them for a 3-year period, and I could not believe how much they changed. Almost daily. And I'm serious. Their pictures look different. It's good to see you, Foot Wedge. Thank you for joining. Tony Klein, if that's who we're talking about, worked at Chrysler. So. I don't know what his job is at Chrysler, but I know he worked at Chrysler. And I believe that. I believe that he is watching us and he is paying a close attention. And I think that he wants to know everything that's being discussed about this case. So that, and I'm sure he sits back and laughs and says that they don't know what they're doing. And, you know, I've gotten away with this. It's been 5 years. And I'm sure that gives him a thrill of some sort. I haven't removed any messages. I don't know if any of my moderators have, WV Woman, but no, I have not removed any messages. Since day one, I'm pretty sure, Chihuahua. And that's another thing too that that I brought up last night, and I'm going to bring it up again tonight before I get off of here, is that you know, when you're talking about the Kleins, and we talked about my feelings as to what the heck could have been on the phone that was worse than CSAM or CP. Why on earth did they start building this fictitious life around Kagan in Las Vegas. Kagan didn't work anywhere in Las Vegas. Kagan didn't go to school in Las Vegas. He was never a dealer in Las Vegas. He didn't do any of those things. If you guys haven't heard of or watched or listened to the Murder Sheet, they did a podcast within the last week or two where they actually went onto his Facebook and called every single one of the places he listed for employment on there and asked if he worked there. And if they, if they could get a reference of did he actually work there. And not one of them was able to verify employment. They said no. They had no record of a Kagan Anthony Klein ever being employed with them. That's pretty huge. I mean, so it's okay, Anne. That's why we're here, fact-based, so that we can help people get the misinformation out that they think they know. And it happens to all of us. So don't feel bad. I'm glad that we were able to clear that up for you. Good night, Foot Wedge. It was great to see you. I hope I see you again. So, yeah. Hi, Nick. I'm glad that you're eating. That makes me feel better. You work so hard. You need to take care of yourself. It's okay, Anne. We're not here I'm not here to call anybody out for that. I want people to, talk about what they think they know, and we'll help you if we feel that it's not something that's factual. So, no problems. Hi, Mike Essery. Welcome. Thank you so much for joining. And I'm so glad that you're here, and thank you. Graz, what are you eating tonight? I'm interested to know. It is good to see everyone. I'm so I'm so happy to have everybody here. I like to have the discussion because I think we can learn a lot from each other. Oh, AJ, that looks so good. That looks so good. There you go. I like that, Annie. Tech Death sent me a song for me to start using it for my openings on my lives, and it's so absolutely beautiful, you guys. I can't wait for you to hear it. Thank you, Maria. You've always got my back. And that's the truth. I'm putting that up there. We can always agree to disagree, but please do it respectfully. And that's how I feel about that. But yeah, I'm new to this, and I'm welcome to opinions. Anybody tell me what they think I'm doing good at or bad at. Please point me in that direction, because this is a learning curve for me. I did public speaking for years in my job, but it's a whole lot different when you're doing it this way and you're trying to navigate software and everything. And I promise I'll get better and I'll be able to show more of my screen. I still can't figure out why I can't get this thumbnail off my screen, but I'm sure Graz will help me with that later after he's done with his dessert. Graz, that's true. If you notice, there's another thing about Tony's post that I noticed. If you look at the time before Kagan was arrested, Tony's mom posted all the time to him. Her post stopped as well after Kagan was arrested. And from what I understand, she was a extremely religious woman. And I'm not trying to read anything in here, guys. I'm just telling you what's out there and what you can see. And I'm thinking that that's kind of odd that she just stopped posting to her son after all of this. So, Phony Pen, thank you so much for coming and hanging out with us tonight. Hope to see you again soon. Peace not silenced. That's wonderful. I needed to hear that. Thank you so much. I like the positivity, but I'm okay to be critiqued as well. I don't mind the criticism. So, oh well, great. I made Harvey mad, and he just posted about me. Lovely. Oh well. I'm not trying to make anybody mad, but to come in and say, that they know better than law enforcement, that bothers me. Law enforcement has asked us not to do things with the photos, and for them to say that they can enhance them better than law enforcement has, just, but Tech Death, you are still up with me. How's your babies doing? I wanted to ask that. I hear you, Graz. I can't make everybody happy. Yes, Tamara, that is exactly what that was like. It's like his mom has disconnected from him. And that's what I would read into that when you go back and you look over his Facebook for the few years before Kagan was arrested on all these charges. She was always posting on Tony's Facebook. So, and I know he's closed his Facebook down some. He's locked down his friends. We can't see those anymore. So there's been a lot of things that have happened. And, if you're being looked at or connected to a double homicide, that could be a reason. But, it's very possible that he's innocent. And there's absolutely nothing that either one of them are connected to this case, but I highly doubt it at this point. I believe that they are connected somehow. I missed what Graz said. What did he say? Yeah, I'm not going to be that kind of content creator. I just don't feel good about it. And I'm not going to be one of those people. I'm not going to try and diss other content creators. I won't do that. I don't do that on my subreddit. In fact, one of Delphi Daughter's rules is that when you come into my sub, you better not sit and disrespect other subs. And there's subs over there that I find bad. I mean, I think they're just drama and drama filled, and nothing good really comes out of them. But I'm not going to let people sit there and talk about them that way, because I think it's disrespectful. So the only reason I told and called Harvey out the way I did was because of him saying that I knew nothing about what I was talking about. He doesn't know me. He has no way to know that. I just think that's wrong. RJ, I plan on it. As long as people want to listen to what I have to say, I'll be here. And so far, it seems like people do. So my moderators are amazing people, and they help me. And like I said, I learned a lot from Real Chill Graz. If any of you guys are in here and have never been to his channel, which I doubt, you need to go over there, because I learned a lot from him. He's such a great person. He's easy to listen to. He has great content. He's just a down-to-earth person. He's kind. He's considerate. And that's like, I think that's one of the reasons that it gave me the fortitude to say, you know, I can do this. I can do this. And after I was seeing all of the negativity around the case the last few months on YouTube, I was just like, there's time. We need some new faces. And I love when people say, oh, there's so many Delphi groups or YouTube channels or subreddits on Reddit. We don't need any more. And you know what? We do. We need as many people that can put new spins or new takes on things, as long as they do it respectfully and with the truth. I'm all for it. Bettina, thank you so much for joining me. Grizz is amazing. He's he's got it going on, trust me, and we love him. And so I'm really glad that he sent you my way, and I'm glad that you're here. And Nick, you're sweet. Thank you. And more, same. I can't say enough. He's he does his research. I think that that's where it's at with this case. A lot of people try to talk about the case and they really don't know about the case, and they haven't. Even if you haven't been here from day one, there's so many places that you can go to find information. And I'm not trying to really push my subreddit, but if you go to Delphi's Daughters, the very first post in my subreddit has so much information on this case. All of the interviews are posted there. All of the videos from the families, interviews. There's the podcast, the Jason Hebert interviews are all there. The HLN stuff's there. I mean, there's a timeline there. There's just a lot of information, and it's all in one place. Delphi Docs is another subreddit that has a lot of information that you can go to get. And I just think that the more you read, the more you find out. And some people don't have the time to do that. Some people literally don't have the time. So what do they need? They need people who are doing content creation to make sure that they're doing it with integrity and honesty. Because if you're listening to anything, be a podcast, us, whatever, you want to make sure that what you're listening to is truthful. And in this day and age, it's hard to do that. We need to keep each other in line, so to speak. So, but you guys are keeping it going out there, I see. Tech Death, did you ever answer me about how the babies are? Are they not babies anymore? Are they all grown up? For you guys that don't know, Tech Death is the father to some absolutely beautiful fur babies. Hey, Misbehaved. Good to see you. Thank you for joining my live. I appreciate you being here. Yes, and that's the ones that I Delphi Murders is the big subreddit, and they have a lot of good information in there as well. It's just sometimes they're not as friendly in there as I think they could be. So yes, Tamara, agreed. Doing it with kindness and respect is the absolute best way. There's no other way. Graz, you're probably right. The babies probably have had babies. They are so stinking cute, though. Every time he posts a picture of them, I just want to drive and get one. Oh no, Tech Death, you have more? Oh, you I just think they're adorable. I'm glad they're a bright shining thing in our Discord when we get to see those. 14 babies. Whew. Good night, Bettina. Thank you so much for coming, and I certainly appreciate you being here tonight and sharing my second live with me. I hope to see you again. So, guys, I think I'm going to wrap up my live. I want to say to everyone that's been here tonight that I appreciate you, and I hope that you stick around and we can have some more really good conversation surrounding Delphi, because I think that the more we talk about it, the better. And there's always good information out there, and I'm constantly searching for new stuff to talk about with you. When I decided to do my channel, I wanted to jump back into the beginning of the case. We're 5 years out. There's so many things that we can look at differently now that we know what we know now. So I just appreciate all of you, and I'm just so happy to see everyone here. I never in my wildest imagination thought that I would have a live with over 100 people in it the second time I went live. So I appreciate you all, and I appreciate all of my mods. Thank you so much for coming tonight, guys. And everybody, please stay safe out there. And always, always, when you're telling the girl's story, remember how we tell the girl's story matters. Be safe out there, and I'll talk to you guys later.